Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's time, obviously, and I think Armin, we need to thank him, but also let's heed the advice that
Ooh,
he gave us.
Saudi
And
Arabia.
yeah,
MBS, are you gonna crapping on MBS?
yeah, in two different articles, but I think it is high time we shed some light. As you said, as human rights activists, we got to keep things in the limelight, and it's high time that we put
I'll
Yemen
let you
into the
steal the
highlight. Yeah.
limelight because I don't want to be on the bad books of the of His Majesty. I'm joking. Go for it.
Oh
Let's just see what he's
dear.
done this week.
Okay. So I was gonna talk about the Yemen situation, but let me show you what he's done this week, what he's planning to do anyway. First. Okay, so here's the man
Oh
himself,
my god.
the main man, the war criminal. Anyway, Saudi authorities are apparently preparing to deport 2 Muslim Uyghurs back to China, where they are at serious risk of arbitrary detention and torture. Human Rights Watch said today Saudi authorities have held the men arbitrarily since November 2020 without charge or trial. An informed source told Human Rights Watch that on January 3rd, 2022, a Saudi official told one of the detainees, Nur Mehmet Rozi, 46 years old, that he should be mentally prepared to be deported to China in a few days. The Turkey-based daughter of the other man, Hamdullah Abdueli, 54, a religious scholar, posted a video on social media in Arabic stating that her father and Rosie are at imminent risk of deportation, appealing for Saudi Arabia to allow them to return to Turkey, where they were residents. The 2 men are currently held in Al Dahban Mabahith intelligence prison north of Jeddah. If Saudi Arabia deports these 2 Uyghur men, it will be sending a clear message that it stands arm in arm with the Chinese government and its crimes against humanity targeting Turkic Muslims, said Michael Page, Deputy Middle East Director at Human Rights Watch. Deporting people to places where they would face arbitrary detention, torture, or worse risks further tarnishing Saudi Arabia's global human rights image. In late 2020, Human Rights Watch said that the Saudi authorities should immediately clarify the status of Abduwali and Rosie and disclose the basis of their detentions. Abduwali, check why he was in Saudi in the first place, arrived in Saudi Arabia in February 2020 to perform a religious pilgrimage, a Uyghur activist told Human Rights Watch. He had been in hiding since he gave a speech to the Uyghur community, therein which he encouraged Uyghurs and Muslims to pray about the conditions in China's Xinjiang region and to fight back the Chinese invaders using weapons, said another source who spoke to Abduwali. In early November 2020, Abduwali spoke to Middle East, a London-based online news outlet, Middle East Eye, saying that he feared that Chinese authorities had sent a request to Saudi Arabia to detain and deport him. Middle East Eye posted photos of Abduwali's Chinese passport, Turkish residency card, and Saudi visa information. So basically, they've previously documented 5 cases in which Saudi Arabia has already forcibly deported Uyghurs back to China in 2017 and 18, respectively. Uyghurs are Turkic speakers, most of whom are Muslims who live in the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region in China's northwest. The Chinese government has long been hostile to many expressions of Uyghur identity and imposed wide-ranging controls, including religious restrictions over daily life in Xinjiang. Since late 2016, the Chinese government has dramatically escalated repression in Xinjiang as part of ostensible counterterrorism efforts, subjecting the region's 13 million Turkic Muslims to forced political indoctrination, mass surveillance, and severe movement restrictions. An estimated 1 million of them have been held in political education camps. These abuses, committed in a widespread and systematic manner, amount to the crimes against humanity of unlawful imprisonment, persecution, enforced disappearance, torture, murder, and inhumane acts such as forced labor and sexual violence, Human Rights Watch said. Most of this repression targets Uyghurs' religious practices. Uyghurs are detained and prosecuted for studying the Quran, going on pilgrimages without state approval, wearing religious clothing, and what the authorities have called abnormal thoughts or behavior that express excessive religious fervor. An estimated 16,000 mosques in Xinjiang, or 65% of the total, have been destroyed or damaged as a result of government policy since 2017. Listen to this. On a visit to China in February 2019, Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, the country's de facto ruler, appeared to endorse Chinese government policies in Xinjiang. China's Xinhua official news agency quoted Mohammed bin Salman, stating, "We must respect we respect and support China's rights to take counterterrorism and de-extremism measures to safeguard national security. Saudi Arabia endorsed joint letters in support of China's policies in Xinjiang at the UN in 2019 and again in 2020. The Chinese government's record of arbitrary detention, torture, and enforced disappearance of Uyghurs, as well as the absence of judicial independence and due process, raises serious concerns that if deported to China, Abdulwali and Rosie will be at grave risk of torture and other ill treatment. So basically, under the customary international law, and as party to the UN Convention Against Torture, Saudi is obligated to ensure that no one in its custody is forcibly sent to a place where they would risk being subjected to persecution, torture, or other serious human rights violations. The Saudi leader Mohammed bin Salman's apparent endorsement of China's persecution of Uyghurs is bad enough, but his government should not play a direct role in it by deporting back Uyghur men to possible arbitrary detention and torture, Page said, which is just the natural thing. So there you go. That's one of the things that he's been up to, planning to send these men back to China. And you would think, yeah, no, I'm just saying, it's just another one on his long list of violations of international human rights law. And it was just surprising that, when the Muslims talk about like this ummah and the collective brotherhood and Muslims protecting Muslims in the situation, like, I mean, that flies in the face of everything. There's just there's none of that. You see no solidarity. You hear such little being spoken by Muslim countries. They're all kind of schmut on the issue and publicly or behind closed doors endorsing China's policy or not willing to speak up about it. But again, it's just MBS being MBS.
Now look at this one. So, you know what Islam says on this issue? So I wrote this in my book. So this is why my book is really good. So you should buy it if you can. Otherwise, you can download it for free. So in 628, Muhammad wanted to go to Mecca and perform a pilgrimage, Umrah, in Kaaba. However, the pagans of Mecca refused. After much negotiation, both sides managed to sign a peace treaty called the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. The treaty clearly stipulated. Now, there was an agreement at that time. And if a Qurayshite, which were the pagans and the original tribe of Muhammad, without the permission, and the main antagonist in Muhammad's story, and if a Qurayshite comes without the permission of his guardian to Muhammad, and then what happened? Meaning, if a Qurayshi accepts Islam and goes to Muhammad without the permission of their guardian, they will be returned to Quraysh. Later on, a Qurayshi woman, Kulthum bint Uqba, accepted Islam and ran to Muhammad in Medina. When her brothers, as per the stipulation, demanded her back, Muhammad refused. And again, conveniently got this verse. Oh, you who believed, when the believing women come to you as immigrants, examine them. So, test them, do the test. Hey, are you really a Muslim, or are you just trying to escape your masters for other reasons? Allah is most knowing as to their faith. So, well, then why don't Allah tell them?
Yeah.
And if you know them to be believers, then do not return them to the disbelievers. Meaning, a lot of this, I noticed why this point hasn't been raised enough previously. This Treaty of Hudaybiyah, every time you ask people, they say, oh, the Quraysh broke the treaty. No, this was one of the biggest reasons that Qurayshi said, okay, the treaty is over, because Muslims broke this treaty of Hudaybiyah because they refused to return Kulthum bin Uqba. Anyway, so this whole story is written in Ibn Ishaq. I think what's the reference? There you go. I've got the reference here, number 69. It's just 69. Anyway, so
what are the odds?
they're not lawful wives for them. So, so Muhammad says, well, they're not lawful wives to them anymore, nor are they lawful husbands for them, but give the disbelievers what they have spent. So just give them the dowry money that they have spent on these wives, but do not return them. So Muhammad actually broke the treaty. So Muhammad, again, I actually argued that, fair enough, I probably would have done the same thing, but I wouldn't have made this treaty anyway with that kind of stipulation, because Muhammad just did as he did what suited him the most at that any given point. So it's a good thing that if a woman comes to you and says, please help me, then you help them. Yeah, that's a good thing. But that's not why Muhammad did it. Muhammad did it because, he wanted his numbers to swell. And again, it's a woman. Who knows? He might want to do it, So MBS doesn't care. MBS is clearly going against the teaching of Islam as well and is returning that to Quraysh. But,
true. That was a very good point.
But it goes Far deeper than that, Nuri. I think we've spoken about this before. There's a letter that China wrote and got it signed by these countries who said that, we are perfectly okay with all the countries, with the Saudi Arabia, Russia, and 35 other states have written to the United Nations supporting China's policies in its western region of Xinjiang, according to a copy of the letter seen by Reuters on Friday, in contrast to strong Western criticism. So 22 ambassadors signed a letter to the UN Human Rights Council. So they said, it's fine, whatever they're doing in China, it's okay. Faced with the grave challenge of terrorism and extremism, China has undertaken a series of counterterrorism de-radicalization measures in Xinjiang, including setting up vocational education and training centers. The letter said, which was clearly written by China, they said, hey, can you sign this? Oh, Saudi Arabia, yep. Pakistan, yep. Yemen, yep. No, I don't know if Yemen is in there or not, but maybe they were at that point. So these are the countries: Philippines, Syria, Pakistan, Oman, Kuwait, Qatar, the United UAE, and Bahrain. And guess the countries who said that this is inhumane treatment of Xinjiang Muslims? All the Western countries. Australia, United States, United Kingdom, France, Germany, blah, blah, blah. They're like, no, this is bad. So these guys have sold their soul to China. It doesn't matter. It's all politics. They don't care about Muslims. They don't care about Muslim lives. They don't care about Muslim human. But because France is a Western country, which again, I've said it numerous times, don't agree with their hijab policy, but over that, they're all up in arms. But China, who's putting them in detention camps, here, MBS is sending Uyghur Muslims back to China. At least what you could do is ship them off somewhere in a Western country and then say, oh, Mr. President Xi Jinping, they slipped under my radar. I don't know what happened. At least you could do that. But no,
and they're residents of Turkey. That's all they are being asked to go back to Turkey. That's it. He could.
Why did they go? Sorry, why did you mention? Why did they go to Saudi Arabia, for Mecca or something?
Yeah, he went to do Hajj. He went for the pilgrimage.
Well, Islam got you, mate. Islam got you, my friend. Your Allah didn't come down to help you, my poor Uyghur Muslim.
If you like these videos and want to support me in my activism, then you can support me on Patreon or PayPal. Stay free, everyone.